Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 8 minutes, 5 topics, 2 hosts, a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, good to see you.
We should tell them.
I'm not gonna ask how you are because I know you're unwell.
I'm so sick. But I'm here, and you're feeling better. I think
I'm
this
making
is.
do. Making do.
You're
That's all I can
making
do.
do. We're at some kind of place in the rite of boom where it's physically now we're falling apart. So
Yeah, pretty
that's
much.
what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Like in the movie where the Millennium Falcon starts to lose like the side pieces and stuff like this.
Yes, that's what's happening.
By the way, before we get to the show,
Okay.
have you listened to the new Lily Allen album yet?
No.
It's fantastic. I
Oh,
listened to
that's
it on the
wonderful
way.
news.
Yeah. It's basically here. The takeaway for me is do not cheat on Lily Allen. Just don't.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
She takes the Taylor Swift thing and just
Goes to a next level.
it's like Pokemon leveling up.
Okay. Good for her.
Fantastic. Good for Lily Allen. Good to see you back.
Good for her.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking we had so much to talk about tonight and that we were preparing. I had forgotten that poor guy that fell. I don't know, the Ozempic guy who collapsed in the Oval Office.
Oh yeah, one of the executives from one of the Novo or something.
Yeah, even the people around him, they're just falling down, and he's standing there. The picture is the most amazing picture I've ever seen. But he was asleep right before, and then they got him just sort of standing there and staring while everybody's, the person is, could be dying in the background. Everybody's trying to figure out, oh my God, and he's just like, oh, right, the president. But it's like Chunk. Remember, Chunk drew him that's one of the ways that he actually animated Donald. And so I was watching that opening and thinking about that, it's like a ping pong or what is that called? A pinball.
Right.
When Chunk has an animation where Donald's just pinballing around like a screensaver, a nice, fun screensaver. Yeah. So we're there. We're there.
Yeah,
we're there.
So I don't know. We should get to the topics because I'm afraid I don't know how much time you've got.
I don't know how much time I got either. I have a trash bag right here. If I suddenly disappear, that's what's happening, and I don't know if I'll make it back. But But I'm here. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see everybody. I hope everybody had a great week. We had a great election. A lot happened since we were last on air, so I definitely want to talk about it.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you set the timer and we'll get going?
Okay. Hang on. Let me get my timer. Oh my God! Everything is a little. There we go. 8 minutes.
Everything's just beautiful. That's a sarcastic, ironical Lily Allen song from one of her other albums. She also has a song called "Fuck You very, very much," which is really very appropriate for this time.
It's very appropriate for the time.
Appropriate for the time.
Very appropriate for the time.
So we were talking earlier in the week, and you made a pretty interesting point about vulgarity. So I'm curious.
Yeah, remind me the core of my point. Do you remember? I'm going to scroll up and try to find it.
The core of your point is that there's a pipeline between vulgarity and cruelty. That it starts off being vulgar, and that's the fast track to cruel. And by making something vulgar, or picking out people who are vulgar, or vulgarizing people who already have vulgarity deep inside them, he knows he can, turn them into what he wants.
I think, and we had someone else we were talking about. It was like, it's like if you have a dirty, rotten secret, right? Like a dirty, horrible something going on with yourself. It's almost like we're starting to learn that sort of the entryway or whatever scent that puts out. It's almost like that can be smelled or sensed by this, ridiculous predator that we have, and the sort of people around him. I think it's more. I was really thinking about this sort of, that saying back in 2016 and 2017, that in that first term of the cruelty is the point.
Right.
And I was thinking about that more in terms of Okay, yes, but the point of what? But that never got followed through. It's like, oh yeah, the whole thing is to be cruel, and that's like, but why? To gain what through that cruelty? Yes, we can agree it's the point, but the point to where are we going? If you put a point out there, if you say something's the point of what I'm doing, then you have a reason why you're doing it, and the cruelty is the reason why, for what end result. And this is what I wrote because I'm so sick. I think it's best if I read it. I say he and his cohorts are intentionally turning people into ghouls.
Yes.
It's pretty sophisticated op when you step back and look at it. Starting with cruelty is a point back in 2016. Like Trump and GOP never pushed back on that. That also stuck with me. It's like the saying that was everywhere. Everyone was saying it. It was all, news pundits, social media, back when Twitter was Twitter. It was just, cruelty is a point was the saying. And no one stopped and said, hang on, you're saying this, that's not there was no pushback. There was no talking. It was almost like yeah. There was a lean in to it. A
Right.
gleeful sort of like, like the Russians in the Oval Office yucking it up with him, on day one of that first term, or that first week of that first term. So who was it? Kislyak and Lavrov. It was that sort of like, yeah, we know what we're doing. There was a intent to it. And Bannon spoke about it. It's this grotesque Roosevelt guy was talking about it, causing trauma to his targets, right? His targets being federal workforce. And he was just like, I'm going to traumatize them. That was back in like 2012, 2014, before it was even, when Donald came down the escalator, that was sort of like a joke, a shocking thing, but then it was a joke for, 10 years or 10 months that this guy was going to actually run. And then he got the nomination. It shocked the world. And then he won, and it shocked everybody even further. But up until that sort of nomination, getting the top of the ticket, and certainly up until winning, no one took any of it seriously. And here was somebody, this obscure person. Again, I don't know where he came from. Who taught him that? Who taught him that if you traumatize people, set your sights on traumatizing whoever your targets are, you can push them to a point to where they just resign and leave and go away. I'd never heard anybody talk like that before in my life. That's a sophisticated knowledge of how to work an op on people. That's pretty.
I don't think he was like sitting on his golden toilet reading The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein.
It's pretty
I'm
interesting.
Go out on a limb here and suggest that never happened.
Yeah. And so then I say, I guess the cruelty and trauma shows them who is okay with it. So the cruelty is the point. What's the point? It reveals.
Right.
It reveals, oh, okay, I'm going to be cruel. And I've got these people over here who are, sort of like it's a sorting of the, separating the wheat from the shaft, right? It's like, okay, these folks over here, they're not okay with it. So, and to the degree of like, obviously there was a whole contingency of the United States, a whole huge demographic block politically of the United States, one whole party that was not okay with it. But within his own party, and for the enablers around him within their party, and within the folks that they had to sort of pick and choose from, who we're going to put in the administration, who we're going to, make a secretary of this, and who's in the cabinet, who do we go for, judges, who do we go for? When you put that much cruelty out there, when you are, your first step forward is cruelty, you get to see right away who's going to respond to that by yucking it up. So the vulgarity inside people reveals itself. And then they're able to go, by they, I always meet Trump and his enablers in this context. Okay, that's our guy. Or that's my AG right there. That's the attorney general that I need. Yep. He's looking for his Roy Cohn. He was looking for the most vulgar person he could find.
He has a cabinet full of vulgar people.
Vulgarity.
Who will do whatever. And, to your point, this business of just, extrajudicially killing fishermen or whoever they are in these boats.
Yeah.
That's also a test in a sense. I mean, I remember in The Unbearable Lightness of Being, he writes about the fact that the secret police would recruit people from their files of kids that were cruel to animals. And they knew that being cruel to animals translated into being cruel to people.
Cruel to life. Cruel to innocence. Cruel to
indifferent to suffering.
Anything purity to cause suffering to what's pure and sacred. Exactly. And for enjoyment, for pleasure. There's a pornographic side, or a sort of aura coming out of this man that's our president anyway. Just the way he talks. I keep going back to that, in that first term, especially in this term, the same. It's like all the it was like you were listening to pornography all the time. There was some, everything had a vulgar intonation to it, an implication. He couldn't even stand in a town that had been burned to the ground in California, Paradise. It just lost right in that massive fire. And he kept calling it pleasure. Like, to him, paradise, or anything that sounds lovely, it's arousal. It's, that's what must be what they mean is, something. And so it just all goes there. Melania with her, the whole thing is just so vulgar. And so that I summarize this by saying, once you compromise real deep morality for privilege, right? So, because there were people who I think were just shocked by the cruelty in the beginning, but said, okay, but we're not going to leave. We'll stay.
Right.
Because there was a transaction that was coming. And so there was a compromise that they made, a moral compromise. Once you trade your, because what's going on in this, with ICE and all this, it's just so morally bankrupt. But you're going to trade that for privilege, you're gone. And that's the mark of his marks.
Yep.
He's looking. The cruelty is the point, so he can see you.
It's cruelty as a recruiting tool. Yeah.
It's cruelty as a recruiting tool and a grooming tool.
And it's an indifference. It's, a contempt for empathy and an indifference to suffering, which brings us to the second topic.
Yeah.
Which is grotesque wealth. And this goes sort of hand in glove with what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
We're in a position now where the SNAP benefits, which are money that is used and allocated to pay for people that need money for food, or, below
Diapers.
The income level enough that they need that. Okay.
Yeah.
So people who don't get these benefits paid for are going to go without, in a very real way. It's basically telling people to starve. And not the judge said, no, you have to do this. You have to fund it. And they put in for an appeal. I mean, the level of cruelty to do that, to put into an appeal for SNAP.
Twice.
Jamie Schlur, and I think just before we came on, the appeal judge told him to go fuck himself. So that's good.
Yes.
I think that might have even been a quote. I didn't get a chance to read it carefully, but I think I saw that boldface, But, Jamie Schlur on the Halloween thing made an interesting point. She said that Trump was cruel and JD Vance was evil. And there's a difference. And I feel like we're heading into that level. So while the SNAP benefits are, ending on November 1st, they have at the White House what they call a Great Gatsby party, which is not a Great Gatsby party because none of those motherfuckers have ever read Great Gatsby or understand it. Starting with the fact that the Great Gatsby, Jay Gatsby, winds up dead in a fucking swimming pool, which is probably not what Trump wants, I would guess. I don't know. Is there still a swimming pool there?
I don't know.
The kind of opulent, decor and vibe that they actually cultivated was more in line with Stanford White, who was the architect that designed the old Madison Square Garden and a lot of the buildings at Columbia. He's the guy who was sort of like renowned Lothario, who invented the concept of the woman popping out of the birthday cake. That was him. That was his thing. Okay. So that's kind of the more of the really exuberant, excessive thing that was going on there. literally it's more Marie Antoinette than Jay Gatsby. Gatsby at least loves someone,
Yeah.
So, and was capable.
He had an organizing principle around.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then I was thinking, I mean, there's two people that just, I don't understand how they can even look themselves. I know that's a hackneyed way to say it, but like Elon Musk this week was approved for a $1 trillion payout if he meets certain incentives, which are apparently not easy to get to, whatever, with Tesla. Okay. 90% sales drop in Tesla, by the way. So I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. Elon's their guy.
Yeah.
At the same time as this is happening, the New Yorker puts out a report talking about the effects of the cut of U.S. aid, which Elon was responsible for.
Yes.
600,000 people have already died of starvation.
Mostly children.
Yes, directly because of Elon Musk. Directly because of him.
They burned
and he
that
knows
thing.
this. He knows this.
Yeah.
He knows this. He takes that money, the $1 trillion, the funding for U.S. aid is, couch cushion coin for him. He wants these people to starve to death. That's what he wants. And I don't know that there's any system that can allow for this anymore. If this is what capitalism is, capitalism needs to modify itself. I love capitalism to an extent, but a corporation is, I've been thinking about this a lot this week, just a vehicle and an excuse for people to be cruel assholes. And I think we need to bring the humanity back into this stuff. Jeff Bezos, I read, increased his fortune by $30 billion. Increased. He already had whatever. Now he's $30 billion richer. At the same time, Amazon is laying off these workers, tens of thousands of workers during what was sure to be a recession. I get that it makes sense. Corporate, you want to streamline, you got to blah, blah, blah. I don't care. If you have that much money, just pay them to sit around. What are you doing? And I don't know how we accomplish that or get from point A to point B, but everything is so out of whack right now that the income inequality can be this much. And not only is it this much, but we were talking about this before. They throw it in our faces all the time. What did you say before about the old money? What did you say? The
rich shouts, wealth whispers.
There you go. Yeah.
Old money, just the sort of legacy wealth. It used to be, or just having money, having any kind of tact with it. The expectation is that you don't show it off. That's the sign of actually somebody who's really wealthy, or it used to be. Was you might not. They were graceful with it. If you understood what you were looking at, maybe by the way they were dressed, or obviously you go into people's homes, you see their lifestyle, you could assess it. But if you're interacting with somebody, someone sitting in a restaurant or whatever, it was, or an employer-employee relationship, it just, there was I even had a boyfriend at the time whose family was very wealthy, and the dad would drive the pickup truck, he kept a modest car. It was nice, but he kept and he was in construction or whatever. So it made sense because it was like, I'm not driving the Mercedes to work. I'm not going to roll up in that with my employees who, and he was a good employer. He paid people well and fairly, but it just, it was like, that would be vulgar. So we somehow got into the, oh no, not only do you come in, you roll in the Maybach and you've got your driver and your private chef and you put all this in front of people and you make them covet what you have and get them to, trot after you like sycophants, you Kardashian it up. That's the Kardashianation of the nation.
The Kardashian nation.
Kardashian nation.
Rich kids of Instagram, whatever.
Rich kids of Instagram.
It's
yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but we know historically what happens whenever the Lorentz curve bulges too much. And Elon Musk better get off his stupid social media site and start reading about the French Revolution. And that's not a threat. That's just how history works.
Yeah, I think there's in those points in history, the Marie Antoinettes of the timelines always presumed that just the way the stronghold that their wealth had over others and over society could keep them protected, right? That they would be okay. And I do wonder if we've reached a time in human experience in society where that might be true, because the surveillance power, the power of the way the resources are controlled, with just these and the small number of people and the vast amount of wealth, and then the resources that they had having that consolidated, like as a proper oligarchy or monarchy does, to consolidate all of that with the state and the powers of the state, and how powerful the United States was at the moment that it's evolved into this. Maybe they are protected. Maybe. I don't know. I do know that people are wanting to be heard, and I think that's what Tuesday was all about. So, it's a good first step.
It's a good first step. We'll talk about that later. But speaking of the monarchy,
no longer the Duke of York, but you're still a creepy dork. 40 prostitutes, bro, you've no restraint. Keep it in your pants, or at Little St. James, bro, because you were a prince. Fergie could sell influence. I don't care about your depravity, but you lost too much of mommy's money. Oh, Andy, you were named in the Epstein recital, even more than Ghislaine. Oh, Andy, you went bust, so I'm taking your title, and now you're just plain old Andy. Old Andy.
Oh, Chunk.
I love him so much. Yay, Chunk.
The man
I haven't seen that yet.
The man boobs, or chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
So good.
Okay, we're doing good on time. How you feeling? You good?
I'm hanging in there.
You're hanging in there? Okay.
I'm hanging in there.
All right. Our guest is an expert in polar geopolitics. She's the co-founder of Polar Warfare Program at West Point, not far from where I sit here. She's now a senior fellow at the Australian Strategic Policy Initiative, and she's the author of a book, a great book, I should say, called So You Want to Own Greenland? Lessons from the Vikings to Trump. Elizabeth Buchanan. Liz, welcome.
Liz.
How are you?
Hi, guys. It's so fabulous to be here, but I will have to take a moment to let you know that highly offensive to have our head of state's son dressed in such a way. Oh, that was great. That was great.
He's not a prince anymore. He's just the guy. He's
still we have deep respect for our queen, our king, the whole family here in Australia.
Family. Whoever they are. We've never had someone from Australia on the show before who is in Australia. Yeah. So we've had someone from Australia before.
I'm coming from Saturday just after lunchtime. So the future comes, no matter how shit things are, tomorrow will come.
That's I don't know if that's reassuring or not. I don't. The sun will rise.
Yeah.
So so now you're an expert in polar geopolitics, and we mentioned the Polar Warfare Program. So, how does one specialize in polar geopolitics? How did your interest in this develop? Did you just like to make snowmen, or how did it work out?
Just had a real kind of creepy interest in really cold places. No, really long story short. I had bummed out of med school with a huge fear of blood. So I went straight into kind of like liberal global arts. And at the time, it was 2006. And so we had the Russia-Georgia war. And so sitting in university, learning about international rules and norms and how the world works, and then in real life, you see sovereign borders being trashed and the world kind of throwing its hands up and saying, well, we'll have the Security Council have a say. The disconnect there felt really disingenuous. So I was kind of like, why the hell are we doing all of these political science and IR degrees if it's not matching the reality of the world? Like, what the fuck are we doing? So I had an interest in, I guess, like political relationships, but then I actually took a year and went and worked at an oil company. So I'm dirty and going to hell, but Royal Dutch Shell. And we were looking at the time, they needed subject matter experts who could understand how Russia was thinking about resources, because they were pushing into the Arctic at the time and the offshore Alaska. So that's where the polar interest came from. But then obviously being back at home here in Australia, Australia has a 42% claim to all of Antarctica as a continent, right? So watching the encroachment of China and the way in which that continent is being lost happening was a huge thing just from a sovereignty point of view. But then I found it really interesting to kind of map and chart at these two theaters, one at the top of the world, one at the bottom of the world, Arctic, Antarctica, to really map how statecraft was mirroring the behaviors. So states were acting pretty much the same in either ends of the earth. So there's a little bit of prediction, I think, for what China and Russia are doing in Antarctica, that I think you guys in the north absolutely should be much more across with the Arctic. And of late, the polar interest has been the weaponization of international research and collaboration in climate studies. So that's kind of a Trojan horse for statecraft to kind of up presence, to up power, to get military assets in a theatre. So I've been fascinated at the money that's being thrown at climate change and research into climate change and the science of the melting poles, but then mapping and watching what institutions in China, in Russia, in India are sending researchers there to undertake this work. And they're all state linked with defense dual use overlap. So it's just a massive
I hadn't thought about that before.
No,
interest.
Yeah.
I wonder
really
if
nerdy interest in that. Yeah.
It's nerdy, but it's cool.
Literally cool.
It's inherently cool.
Literally. That's the first one.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if, the whole sort of climate change is a hoax kind of that push. I tracked that for a while as well, but it did feel like something different was happening when Donald got into office the first time, and he was really leaning into that. And, the windmill thing, obviously oil and gas, and here, let's make Rex Tillerson Secretary of State. Remember that? That was so crazy. But if it was the nugget of truth, because it was almost like he was speaking from seeing some intelligence or something. If like the nugget of truth in there was he was getting intelligence up briefings that these Russia and China use it to start, send their intelligence people in there and kind of fuck around and see.
They do. And then there's the second part, which is like the system. So yes, solar panels are mainly made in China. Yes, these huge windmills have components that are made in China, and they're finding different little add-on bits that can be switched on from afar to monitor in real time. So, we've got the same thing with the cars, right? With Teslas that are now listening to us. And I think Australian government's just pretty much tried to ban any Chinese EV car, and Teslas are on the nose about too, actually, from being used by any of our ministers. So you've got to keep up with the technology. But what's interesting about the climate issue led from, I guess, the skepticism angle is there is some serious security risks that are occurring in your postdoc and in your research space, for sure, in your higher education space. The way in which climate change and research in the earth sciences has always been a collaborative thing, which it is, right? It knows no borders. Our global system is a global issue, and you do need partnership with other countries, and we all need to work together on it. But the way in which one piece of information, so yes, there are potential intelligence issues there and security issues there, has been kind of slapped on all climate research, and now you've got the US pulling all of its funding, even for Antarctic research. The long-term implications are horrific, and as a mother, young kids, we don't have time to pull up and to pull up stops and allow, the US NSF, which used to be a global leader in rallying international communities together to undertake, million-year ice core drillings, so we can see what's happened in time with our climate. So no one, I feel, is really holding the US government to account on that, which is saying, yes, you're correct, there are some intelligence issues here. We can mitigate them by working with other partners or calling out the bullshit and saying, hey, we found this in the system. We're no longer working with you there. But that's hard, and it's much easier just to turn the pipeline of funding off. And I think...
Well, it's easier in the immediate. It's not going to be easier. The effects of it aren't going to be easier for everybody. It's
no way to
politically expedient. Yeah. But God.
Yeah. So that's hard to watch. But in terms of the geopolitical theaters as polar theaters, it's just a massive nerd interest. You've also got the Himalayas, which is often called the third pole. So that's interesting. But I guess the three things I like to map are resource insecurity, so living and non-living, great power competition or strategic competition, which is age-old, just the players change, and then climate change. And I know it's not politically okay to say the word climate change in a lot of these forums, but receding ice, a warming globe is unlocking and making access to resource deposits easier. So therefore the commercial guys, and this is with the oil hat on right now, say it's cheaper to extract and to get it to market. And they don't give a fuck about 30 years' time. It's the next 15 years of money for the shareholders.
Oh,
yeah, no. That's
terrible.
I remember in 2016.
Sorry, this is depressing, but
no, it's okay. It's okay. It's a good reminder.
Let's talk about. Well, your book is not depressing though. Your book is very good. It's also funny, which is
it's funny.
I could see you throwing little jokes in there, which I appreciate. But let's talk about Greenland now, which I keep in my brain all week. I'm like Alaska. Like it's not Alaska, it's Greenland. It's the other side of the whole
Alaska's
thing.
next though.
Yeah, sure. Putin went there and scoped it out himself to see what he wanted. He'll demand we give it back, and who knows what Trump will do. So now Greenland's obviously strategically
I think
important.
You'll get the tunnel, right?
We'll get the tunnel. The Vladivostok to Juneau tunnel. The Trump tunnel.
Elon will put people in a tube. We'll just tube people.
He does own the Boring Company. Yep. Boring person, boring company.
Right here. So, you've had it now.
All right. It's mostly covered in ice. Greenland is still, at least until maybe next week. And fewer than 60,000 people live there. Someone in the U.S. military once described it as the world's largest stationary aircraft carrier. That is a quote I get from your book. And the U.S. has had its eye on Greenland for 150 years now. So Seward, as you write in the book, this is Abraham Lincoln, Secretary of State, who went on to try to acquire it in a three-way trade after he bought Alaska. So why is it so important in layman's terms? Why is it so critical to us, to the United States, especially?
In layman's terms, it's all about geography, baby. So think of a world map, find Greenland up the top there, look a little to your left, and you've got the North American landmass. So Greenland is absolutely North American. Like, you can't change geography. But if you think about where it is strategically positioned, it is essentially your front doorstep for any of the bullshit coming over or through the Arctic into the North American continent. And it has always been that way, right? So as technology has advanced, as, you know, the Russians are still being dicks, so they're still your problem. But the threat perception has always come from that kind of high north region. So it's like having your front doorstep on fire and not doing anything about it. So this is why I wrote the book, right? I thought it was so disingenuous for the discussion, primarily in America, actually. So I'm not sure what's going on with your fifth estate, like not calling out the bullshit. It seemed to be easy to spill. Well, it seemed easy to spill ink to talk about Trump taking Greenland, or, you know, Trump Jr. jetting in to take Greenland, and how it was such a big shock and what's happening. And it was like, holy crap. Do you not know your own history? You've got hundreds of years of a strategic foothold in Greenland. It has helped keep your society safe. Bidufik airspace. Bidufik space base used to be Tula Air base. So you've got men and women who wear uniform, who defend your country, who live out there. Like, this is not a new acquisition. So for me, I was trying to correct the record there, but also I just thought it was such a massive own goal, and I should probably like bill Team Trump for some PR money. But like, don't frame it. This is why I couldn't understand with the Vance trip. Don't frame it as we're taking this and we can't rule out taking by military occupation. What the fuck are you talking about? You have military occupied Greenland.
So they're dumb,
right?
Yeah, they're dumb. Sending JD Vance anywhere to be like the face guy and the ideas guy is always a terrible idea, because I don't think anyone on planet Earth actually likes him. Certainly not in Greenland. I don't think they liked him very much.
The point is, the history is there, and there's smarter ways to build upon that and to do the social shaping piece in Greenland. And another point of interest for me with the book was the way in which, again, mostly US outlets were publishing results of various polling that was done in Greenland. So it was framed in the wrong way. It was talking about, you know, super majority of Greenlandic people don't want to join Trump's America. And it's like, hold on, you've got to analyze the actual data. How was the question posed? It was an either or. Do you want to stay with Denmark, or do you want to join America? Of course it's stay with Denmark. It's the devil you know. But then the next question,
also free healthcare
in the same polling.
Yeah,
you guys hate our free healthcare though. But the next question was, do you want independence from Denmark? And that had more of a majority that said yes. And, you know, independence for the Greenlandic people, as I write in the book, is something that's not a case of if, it's just when. So it's already laid out in a 2009, you know, self-governance act in the Danish constitution. So, but then you got the legalistic bullshit of, you know, they have to have a referendum, but then the little teeny tiny asterisk is that the results of the referendum have to be approved by the Danish parliament. And the Danish parliament is not about to give Greenland full independence, because that's like cutting off your healthy arm. Greenland gives Denmark its strategic relevance to tell NATO, you know, fuck you, we're not spending more money on our defense because we let you use Greenland. And also, the extended resource seabed claims into the Arctic are afforded to Denmark just because of Greenland. So there's so many sort of aspects to the story, and a little bit of the futures stuff that I'd done towards the end of the book, which I think I might write another book on as well. See how much my husband hates me this week. It looks at, you know, if you starve off, or if you poison the relationship between the Greenlandic people and the US, then you don't have many other options. And they don't want to be all in with Denmark anymore. And to be independent, they need to be economically sustainable on their own. So they need to diversify their partners. Now, Europe might invest in 1 or 2 mines, but the country that has the capital ready to go and the intent to move quickly is China. And as an Australian who's watching China creep throughout the South Pacific, through Southeast Asia, into Africa, Venezuela, now in South America, I don't think that China is a local neighborhood friend that you want up there in the north, because once they bed in, they do not leave.
Well, oh, okay. Let's bounce off of that a second.
That's a lot to process.
That was a lot to talk about, but I want to get into the.
Can you tell I'm autistic yet?
Yeah, it's wonderful. The Australia bit of this. So your perspective also then being in Australia, not just having the perspective of the areas that you studied in the Arctic. We were talking before we went on air about, what's going on there in Australia. And you were asking us some very interesting questions about how we perceive, as Americans, how do we still perceive Australia? Do we still perceive you as our friendly, happy-go-lucky neighbor from down under who's gonna, or friend from down under who's part of Five Eyes and always there having our back, and it's red, white, and blue in your flag, like in our flag, like in UK flag, special relationship adjacent, right? So what is happening there in Australia, and how much influence does China have over or inside your politics?
So China, so taking aside various, I guess, security issues you've got with whether or not politicians in our country are already captured by China, set that to the side. But the idea of Australian defence and strategic planning at the moment is very much about normalising relations with China. And that's interesting to me, I think, as a defence analyst, because that is the rhetoric from our Prime Minister and from all of our sort of defence policymaking bodies. And then at the same time, we are harping on where we can, whenever we can, about AUKUS. And the whole fundamental point of turning Australia into a operator of nuclear-powered submarines, which it has never been before. This is a huge amount of cost, like $360 billion. We don't even spend, we're just at 2% of our GDP on defence at the moment. So this is huge. Like social housing, healthcare, education, that's all put to the side, and this is what they want to spend the money on, and they're committed to doing it. But the whole strategic logic of having that capability is to what? And that's where the disconnect happens, because if you can't get government on record here saying it's to deter China because of China's rise in the Indo-Pacific, even though we know that that's why, right? In all of quiet briefings that occur, we know it is about deterring and being able to, keep Chinese maritime power at arm's length away from our shores, because we're a really cool island, and we should just keep our head down and bob along. But it's an Australian kind of macho, I guess, egotistical sense of having a dog in every fight. And, this is one maybe we can sit out in terms of the US-China competition in the region. So that in the strategic planning and the capability acquisition lane really jars with this political soft power message that we have every other day of normalising ties with China, with our Prime Minister and Defence Minister heading over to Beijing for a 5-day trip, smack bang in the middle of our Talisman Sabre exercise, which is our largest military exercise that we host here with the US. So there's all of these different signals that don't gel. And I think the short-termism of our political party, our Labor Party at the moment, is just riding that wave of no one in Australia really is that political enough to care. That's a social thing, I always think it's funny when we think about the French, when they've got a problem, they riot, bins don't get picked up, they march. When Australians have an issue, we just bitch and moan about it, but we still rock up to work, you know? And it's, I don't know if it's this convict hangover, but there's a study that should be done into it. And then at the same time, you know, last year or the year before, I think it was, we had the referendum. I'm not sure if you guys followed our referendum about essentially whether or not we should give Aboriginal Australians, oldest culture on earth, the right to be mentioned in our constitution.
Wow.
And you need to look at the data for that, right? And it was, I think it was in the 80 percentile. You have to fact check me on that. But you know, it was super high, was no.
Wow.
Australians voted no. So what is fascinating to me watching from afar is the laissez-faire nature of our political system and the engagement that Australian modern day society has with it. Because I thank God that we're not more political and into wanting change, and we just kind of keep our heads down and, you know, drive a ute and get our social security payments and Medicare, and, you know, because if we were more politically charged, I fear that we would be heading down the rabbit hole that you have in your system in power quicker than you realize.
So very divisive.
You know, and we have huge amounts. We have a huge amount of immigration at the moment here that's kicking off all sorts of low-level social discussions about, on the weekend, did you go down to your hardware store? Yeah. Did you notice all the Indians working there? So these are conversations that I hear at school. So it's really a scary place to be. But of interest to me, I think in the question I asked when we were chatting beforehand was, you know, we in Australia like to think that we are in a special club of US allies, which I'm sure we are, but no one's asking the next question, which I think we do need to be asking, which is, what does that mean? What does that tie us to now that the US has changed? It's undergoing a change. Can we talk about US values? Are they the same that they were in the last 10 years?
They're the same as they were in 1850.
Yeah. No.
Oh, you know, we've made America great.
Sorry about the phone.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
That's all right. And I think that matters, right? So I don't know if that discussion needs to come from the US. I would love to hear, you know, you've got such a vital think tank system in DC that could be doing more, should be doing more to pick up that values-based discussion about foreign strategy and foreign policy. Because there's so much.
I think it's all been compromised by China, though. Back to that. I don't know how
I think though, but
think tanks are right now.
I mean, if you go back to 2016,
we're looking to you for leadership, right?
If you go back to 2016, I think it's very telling that the Trump people have tried to blame the investigation that the FBI did into the Russian influence, which is called Crossfire Hurricane. They try to say that was instigated and the impetus behind it was the Christopher Steele quote unquote dossier, which is when a British intelligence officer came to, you know, the United States shouting hair on fire. Oh my God, guys, look at what's happening. But what really started it was Downer talking to George Papadopoulos in a bar and being like, holy shit, this is fucked up. We have to alert people about this. Nobody even mentions the Australians anymore. It's like, you guys are so in that but the British do it. And it's, oh my God, how could this happen? So I think that, you know, at a certain point in time, not very long ago, the relationship seemed to be very, very much very close. Now, we're doing our best on this show and people watching here to defeat the Nazis that are rising up or trying to rise up here in the country. And if they succeed, I don't know, all bets are off. You know, I think Trump will just join with Xi, and that'll be it. But if we can revert back to how we were, because we're at a very much.
But see, this is the.
Go ahead, Liz.
So this is the interesting part for us, though, in Australia, because that would be great for us if you could normalize your relationship with China into a into a, happy-go-lucky, things will be fine. Because for our political class at the moment, that's what we want, because we just want to dig up shit and send it and sell it.
But isn't that...
And China's our largest market to do that.
But the relationship is very tricky with China, because politically there's all this, banging of heads and saber rattling and all this bullshit. But economically, it's like this.
Yeah.
I like to think there won't be a war between us and China, because we owe them too much money already. It's what are you going to do? The economies are too closely entwined. Yeah, it's complicated.
And so you then want to interrogate things like AUKUS and say, well, if we know that the end point is already that we all want to normalize relations so we can continue trading, we can have a rough idea of what the expectations are of each other in this patch of the world, Indo-Pacific, then free up the money of AUKUS and put it back into healthcare, put it back into our country. It's... I think the writing's on the wall, but there's far too many people, I think, that have their own kind of economic stake on the gravy train for that to happen. So we will see. I wonder, we had a bit of kickback here in Australia when the South Koreans were able to ink a deal with Trump for SSN building. And a lot of Australians were worried that meant nuclear-powered submarines.
Nuclear-powered submarines, okay.
And nuclear-powered submarines. We're worried that meant that Australians would come back behind the line, because we're not investing as much as Korea is going to. So we'll see. But
nothing short of nuclear submarine positioning, strategic.
Greenland.
And Greenland and China.
Look, to be honest, the only submarines anybody in this country is worried about this week is the submarine sandwich that the guy threw at the ICE agent that he got indicted for. Which
you took
hopefully don't even know anything about.
You took my future transition, because we're going to get to that down the
line.
Oh,
damn it!
Speaking of subs, but I
really quickly. I know that we're over 8 minutes. Really quickly, but
no, you're allowed to be over 8 minutes. Don't worry.
Awesome. Kind of track the ICE discussions. So that's essentially rounding up people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And children. I'm seeing a lot of children getting rounded up.
Yes.
Grouped up and then put into camps, holding camps, and then removed from the country.
Correct.
So
without due process.
That is textbook. But this is textbook of a period in history that we all kind of agreed was abhorrent. So you've normalized it to the point where it now seems to be
we all agree.
A social
but the Trump people are, they're Nazis. They're just Nazis.
I'm not saying that Steph
no, I know.
running the ICE flag. Americans. So it's wild, and there's not much. I'm not seeing much social kickback about this. Why aren't people?
Oh no, there's a lot.
Demanding this.
No. There's a lot, but our media has been captured. Our news media has been captured, and social media is controlled. So the folks we were talking about in the beginning that are the vulgar rich, right, have such control over here. It's the way our fourth estate is gone, and we continue to talk about it. Not to say there aren't still great journalists, and that what little we do know, we are getting from people who are still working hard and following the principles. It's a miracle, I think, any news that's informative or critical makes its way out. But it's twofold. What's happening is there's tremendous resistance. There's all kinds of stuff, there's all kinds of activism. There's all kinds of pushback. It's why people, we had this, King's marches. This stuff is going on, and it's massive here. It's all happening on a community level on up, and it's building and building and building, but it's not.
So I guess from an international, partnership lens of this, it again, I'll just close with it. Just comes back to this idea of the US has to really, as a matter of priority, rediscover or at least put a line under its values. Try and figure
difficult.
Out and return to them.
The people who have control over the narrative and what you see, and also what fellow Americans are aware of, have a very different value set than what we
It's
understand
wild.
is American. Yeah. So that's
I think
that's the fight.
I might stick with Greenland and leave
Yes.
that to you guys.
That's probably a wise
Well,
choice.
what about when JD Vance is your king, though? I don't know how great that's going to be. I don't know. A kingship of JD, King JD. It's such an unkingly name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wait, I want to show your book because
Yes, please show the book.
Oh,
show
look
the
at
book.
that.
Look at that. So you want to own Greenland?
Yes,
This
please.
is a very good
order.
book. I saw people in the
Um,
comments. I forgot to mention that you can look at the comments, by the way, if you click on comments.
Oh, I haven't.
Yeah. I saw at
Do I
least one
want to?
person bought the book while this was going on. So
There we go. Got you a
Oh,
sale,
yeah.
Liz.
yeah, there's lots of good. There's lots of good.
My 30 cents. Wow. Now I'm deep in the comments.
Now you're deep in the
no,
comments.
that's the thing. It's hard
It's
to
a wonderful
modulate.
community. Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to modulate back and
but
forth.
thanks for all the support, guys.
You're welcome.
You know,
Thanks for what you did. Thanks
getting
for
this
writing
army
and
wife- this army
staying
wife
on
can
top
put
of
some
the cool
food on the
nerdy
table.
stuff.
Where can people find you? Are you on social media?
I am. I'm on the Dirty X.
Okay.
Buchanan, I don't think they liked James Buchanan as a president. I remember because I'm from a farming background here, like come from nothing. And my dad was saying, I got the scores to get into Harvard, and he was like, we've got no money to send you, but why don't you put in your application that you're some lost relative of President James Buchanan? And I was like, I don't know if that would fly.
Well,
Didn't
just
fly.
in keeping with the through line of this episode, Buchanan is also the last name of Tom Buchanan from The Great Gatsby.
From The Great Gatsby.
You know, kind of the quintessential American dickhead.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
There
so we
you
can
go.
follow you on the X. Elizabeth Liz Buchanan. It's been great. Thank you so much for coming and stay. I was going to say staying up late, getting up early. You know,
Getting up early, having a little lunch with us.
Yeah.
Thanks from the
smashed
future,
my
Liz.
lunch. You saw me eat in public. Bye, guys. Next time.
Bye. Next
Take care.
time. See you
Thanks so much.
soon. Oh, she's wonderful.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was great. I learned a lot.
I learned a lot.
We have to have her back.
Yeah. For sure.
Anytime people are like teaching at the war colleges and stuff like that, you know, they know interesting things.
They know what they're doing.
They know interesting things. Now, the transition is, speaking of ice.
Yeah.
Greenland or whatever.
Maybe that's why I woke up from my.
Are you okay? Are you going to be all right? You got to go.
I'm okay. I'm swallowing a lot. We'll see what happens. I'm okay. Yeah, I don't even know. We did have, we want to talk about ice. It does feel like, as controlled as a narrative and the attempt to control the narrative is, things are so horrific now that there's stuff breaking through, and I was so disturbed by two. I'm sure everybody's seen in the two pieces of footage of the daycare worker a woman being grabbed in front of those little children and thrown on the ground, and then the man clutching to his baby child as ice is going into his car, and
he has a seizure.
He has a seizure, and he's seizing but protecting his child still as they're trying to rip him mid-seizure out of. It's not just out of his protective stance of his child. I don't know what they did with the infant. It's an infant. And then I posted a lot. So go ahead and say that. Well, I'll bring up. There's a lot happening around it all that is, and the administration just defying any of what the courts have to say about it. And
trying to justify it in a very indignant, arrogant way. Like, we only went into the daycare center because the illegal immigrant female ran there first. Well, if you know she's in there, just wait outside until all the kids leave. How about that? Or just show up with a warrant like you're supposed to and tell us who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
This is an encroachment upon society, and it's getting worse every day. It's not getting better. There's a lot of people out, helping, which is great to see.
Yes.
I think what's pivotal is the police departments. I think that, not that anyone in a police department is watching this, but what the police need to be doing is protecting the fucking citizens of the country, and not the guys dressed like they're going to go invade Fallujah. They don't need your help, cops.
They don't need it. They don't need it. And on top of that, there's some news that what we knew, and when you put masks, when you're masked and we don't know what you're in, you're just grabbing people and disappearing them. Women, especially, we were like, no, this is what, what we may have even encountered. Our big fear is, being grabbed by an unknown man. And so there is now Wired magazine is reporting that criminals posing as U.S. immigration officers have carried out robberies, kidnappings, and sexual assaults in several states. There's an FBI bulletin warning of this.
Mm-hmm.
So to law enforcement agencies that was issued last month. So even out of Kash Patel's FBI is coming, I hate to even point it out. And this article, I'm glad we have it, but bringing attention to this, I just feel like, again, with the cruelty is the point and the vulgarity, this is where it goes. It goes into this space. Yeah. It goes into the space of causing real bodily harm to innocent people and destroying lives. Vulgarity becomes evil, right? Real quick.
It's a dehumanization of the people.
Yeah. So I think there's just way too many Americans that are okay with this. There's so many that aren't, but there's way too many Americans that are okay with even that. Okay, well, that's the trade-off. Some women are going to be raped and some kids kidnapped by, predators. And criminals get to, my neighbor's store is going to get robbed, but that's a trade-off because we can't have these immigrants. There's too many Americans in that place.
You mean the illegal immigrant females and the illegal immigrant males?
Right.
That's what DHS.
And to top it all off this week with that, the additional news coming out of Senator Mark Warner's mouth, but certainly true. The DOJ pulled up to 45% of FBI agents off counterterrorism and child rape and exploitation cases. So while all of this is happening with ICE, and we have this, right, that the Department of Justice is pulling 45% of people and resources off of child rape and exploitation and counterterrorism. So let it all happen is sort of the thing. And ICE's budget is not part of this shutdown. It's not part of the shutdown.
No, these fuckers are getting their bonuses. Weird how that happens. The people that need the money, that are starving, don't get the money. But fat asshole with a mask on that's being violent to a woman gets the money.
J6er, yeah.
It's disgusting. The other thing that's happening is that once people are detained, they're being denied medical care properly. There's been a number of stories of people dying or being very sick because they're denied their medications and all this kind of stuff. It's just flat out evil.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop. It's almost, as someone who grew up in this country and has lived here this whole time, it's almost unthinkable. And I know that the United States has a history of bad shit, but in my lifetime and our lifetimes, not like this.
This is Stasi level stuff.
This is Nazi shit. They're fucking the Gestapo. They are.
Yeah.
Gestapo is the German word, truncation of the German word for state secret police. That's what these people are.
Yeah.
They're state secret police. And I don't know how it stops unless someone stops them. And the people that can stop them are the local cops and the states.
The governors. Yeah.
They have to be arrested. Somebody that comes into a place doesn't show that, just arrest them.
Yeah.
The cops need to arrest the ICE agents who are doing this.
Yeah.
And then when it ramps up like that, if that happens enough, there'll be enough conflict that it'll come to a head and it'll be resolved.
Because the other thing that we're learning is that the way all of this stuff accelerates and thrives is when you have total incompetence at the top, yet completely competent in their intent. So they know this is clarity in the intent. The intent is as horrible as it's what's happening is the intention. It's not something that's run away from people, right? This is absolutely what they intend. But there's also they're incompetent people. They're uninformed and they're
stupid fucking morons.
Yeah.
And they don't govern well.
That combination of clarity of mission, and the mission being the worst of the worst of worst, and not knowing how to actually do your job to achieve that mission is getting situations where you've got this, right? What we're dealing with now. We've got where this goes with that combination. It's frightening. So yes, we absolutely, I'm sorry, you can't, we have a constitution. Let's not violate it. And it's going to come down to the states stopping this,
And these people, by
because
the way,
before this, I know people are like, ICE is always bad, but we do need an enforcement. It's an enforcement agency that on paper in a sane world,
right,
with the Constitution being followed, is something about our security as a nation that does require an agency. It doesn't have to be policing the way it's policing. I'm not making that argument. I'm just saying if you were to put together, okay, let's put a security package together for our country, that would be one of the things that you put together. It would be, and so and that's like that's the lean in, right? That the folks that are all for this cruelty, this violation, this Stasi level stuff, they're all for it. That's what they're like, well, you can't, you're anti-patriotic, or we can't abolish this and da, 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 da. It's that extreme that they go to, taking the thing that, yes, administratively this makes sense, but this is not how you do it, because it's being run by incompetent, cruel sadists.
There is zero ever justification for like 6 big armed, masked, dudes to burst into a daycare center to get a woman that ran in there terrified. That's not policing. That's not enforcement. That's just, it's just,
I can't.
So
we just wanted to
talk, violation.
Listen, we just wanted to talk about it all because
we have to keep talking about it.
We have to keep talking about it. Yeah. And I don't know. We'll just keep watching this, guys. Maybe this deserves its own, instead of a broader idea of pushing back against a would-be king and these things. It just needs its own day of national resistance and mourning, something care, something compassionate. This is when I really, really wish we had a Martin Luther King, of this era. Maybe one will there's some contenders rise up, because this is where we need it.
Arresting all the people that are like citizens that are documenting it or trying to prevent ICE is fucking bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Ghazali got indicted. That's like bullshit.
That's what Putin has been doing in Russia for a while.
Lots of Putin stuff happening.
Yeah,
he's good with his Putin copycatting. Do you have any announcements other than you have to leave because you're not feeling well?
Oh boy. Well, no, I can't even think, Greg. I don't
think we have any announcements. We're good.
I don't think we do. I think we're good.
So we're good.
Just subscribe, join.
Right. And thank you for watching. We always appreciate
Thank you for watching.
We love the comments. We love the community.
Yeah, we want to stay with you guys and keep growing. So help us grow. Okay. let's get to the last topic. So
all right, hit the timer because you're
back to the bathroom. Here we go.
You're
I'm turning green. I'm turning green. Yeah.
You gotta go. You go if you gotta go.
It's happening live on air. No. What is this? What's our last one?
This is okay. This was a good week to be a lover of democracy and a Democrat in particular, because we have, Zoran Mamdani winning that election in New York City is a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
For any number of reasons. And I think that him winning the same week that Nancy Pelosi announces she's retiring looks like a baton to me. It looks like this era is ending and this era is beginning. That's what it looks like. It may not happen, but that's what it looks like. Because whatever you feel about Mamdani, who knows if he'll be a good mayor or not? Who knows if he'll be able to take this energy and, do the things he wants to do? I'm sure he's going to have mighty forces in staunch opposition that want him to fail desperately, because God forbid we should have democratic socialism in this country. But he won. He won in the largest vote turnout since 1969. Are you okay? You got to go.
I got to go.
Go.
I'm going to let Greg wrap this all up.
Literally
got to run to the bathroom.
No, you got to go.
In front of everybody. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get through this. We're going to get through it. Let Greg wrap this up. I love you all. And I'm down with it all. I hope he turns out to be the guy that, everybody wants him to be. We'll just sort of see. And I just want to say about the Subway sandwich guy. I hadn't watched that. I hadn't watched him throwing it. The way I didn't understand it was a Napoleon Dynamite moment, And I whatever the Napoleon Dynamite music is, I can't even remember. Somebody needs to put that to that. And I just love him so much. I love how he threw it and how he ran away. It was, I've watched it endless times now. And I guess, you shouldn't assault police, but it wasn't assault. Like everybody decided that wasn't assault.
It literally wasn't assault.
You can
indict a ham sandwich, but you can't convict one. That's it. That's how it goes.
Good night.
Good night. Get out of here.
Okay, you keep talking. I'm
going to keep talking for a few minutes.
Thank you so much. I made it.
Yay. Okay.
Yay.
Good. I'm glad. Go,
glad
get out of here. I'm kicking you out. Okay, good. You're out. I'm glad she made it because I wasn't sure she was going to be on at all. So we're an hour 15 here. That's a lot. So, okay, just a few things. Mamdani won. This was the largest vote turnout in New York City since the 1960s. He won over a million votes, the most votes since Mayor Lindsay in 1969. He won over 50% of the vote. So even if Curtis Lewa had dropped out, he was still going to win. There's nothing Cuomo was going to be able to do about it. And it is a energetic referendum to what the opposite is, right? Like, I've been doing a lot of reading. As people who subscribe to Prevail and read it know, I'm doing a lot of reading about writers and thinkers and artists in that time period, leading up to the Second World War. And Orwell, who is probably the most celebrated novelist writing about any of this stuff, he wrote that, every word that he has written, he said, was to promote democratic socialism. That's what Orwell said. Orwell, who said, Nazism sucks, communism sucks, Hitler bad, Stalin bad, this is the way. That's what George Orwell thought. And I think that one of the problems that we have in this country is that the idea of what that means has been so tainted by decades of right-wing smear campaigns and takedowns and Marxist, communist, Chinese, whatever the words that they say time and time again whenever they try to describe anybody that's trying to do anything. If you take away all the labels, what Mamdani and the Democratic Socialists want to do is popular. People like it. People want healthcare. They want it. They want a universal healthcare so they don't have to worry about going bankrupt because of health costs. They want it. It's good for society. It's good for business. Nobody ever makes this argument. It drives me fucking nuts. I wrote about this on the Weeklings 15 years ago. Like, it stifles entrepreneurship. How many people were going to go out and start a small business in this country and couldn't do it because they had 2 kids and they had to stay where they were working because they needed the health insurance. How many times does that happen? We don't know, but it's a real thing. I don't think the employers want to be paying for this. Who benefits from this? The doctors aren't making more money. The nurses aren't making more money. It's these bloated ass middlemen. That's it. So like there has to be some way, and I haven't studied this. I don't know the fine print of it or anything like that, but we can look to literally every other Western country that's done this. All of these people that are working for these big healthcare companies can just do the same thing, but for the government, and get rid of all the bloated CEOs. I don't care about them. They can fuck off. They have plenty of money to last them forever. And that's what needs to happen. So that's just one thing. But, the early childcare, the free buses, the rent in New York City is a real problem. And the reason why is because New York City, especially Manhattan, is small, relatively speaking. It is a finite amount of space. You can't build on a lot of places. There's not a lot of new construction you can even do. And some sizable percentage of apartments in New York City are vacant at any given time because you have people like, I don't know, pick your famous rich person, buys an apartment in New York, doesn't really live there, goes there a couple times a year, hangs out, whatever, and then leaves. Foreign moneyed interests do that, all of this. So there's a significant percentage of apartments in Manhattan, especially, that are vacant. Meanwhile, everybody else is to go like an hour and a half away on the subway to like Bay Ridge or whatever. Without those people, you can't have a functioning place, Without the art scene, New York is dead. It's just a city of bankers, which, was founded by bankers. Why shouldn't it be a city of bankers? But if you want to have Broadway and you want to have the publishing industry and you want to have the advertising industry, and if you want to have cool artistic shit happening, those people have to be able to afford to live there. And so do the teachers and the doctors and nurses and all that stuff. And it's not happening right now. So at least Mamdani is trying to address this issue. Will he succeed? Who knows? But I know what he will do. He'll represent the city well. He'll go around and he'll say the right things and show up at the right events. That I'm fully confident in. This is what needs to happen. But it wasn't only New York; it was other places too. I know my mom was very nervous about the election, the gubernatorial election in New Jersey. So Nunzio had to be deployed to do his ad, and Nunzio's ad obviously worked because it was a walk. I mean, they called that election very quickly after the polls closed. And Virginia also, we won. There were also inroads into, I believe it was Kansas that voted against redistricting, which is David Daley, who's been on this show a couple times and knows more about this than anybody, written books about the voting stuff and the voting rights, was terrified that Gavin Newsom would do his Proposition 50, which also won resoundingly. People were lined up for hours to vote for this thing in an off year. And David was afraid that Gavin Newsom would do it in California and then red states would follow. But it seems like red states are not following. So this is a good thing. 8-minute timer just went off. I've been informed. I'm gonna, it's okay. And Mississippi got rid of the supermajority of Republicans. That state, there has a higher percentage of the population is black in Mississippi than any other state in the United States. So the fact that it's always a reliable red state is ridiculous. It's a product of voter suppression laws, which they're going to keep doing. And now maybe we'll be able to get some inroads into that. And also, finally, Trump lost. Every candidate that he endorsed lost. Everyone. Because people fucking hate this guy. I forget who it is on the social media. Is it Simon? I can't remember who it is saying. People hate him. They hate him. His policies are awful. There are no policies. What's the policy? You're going to kidnap my babysitter and the guy that paints my house or whoever. People that are in the community, that are contributing to the community in a way that, by the way, the Trump people are not. What has Don Jr. ever done for the community? What has Eric ever done for the community? Nothing. at least people are contributing to the community. So he's on the outs. MAGA is on the outs. And by on the outs, I mean the people don't want it. The people know he sucks. They know. The gig is up. Okay. And I think Trump knows that too. And now we move into a dangerous moment. And we'll see what happens. But I feel like there's been a lot of shitty weeks. There's been a lot of shitty news. There's been a lot of shitty everything. Okay. But is this I have to queue up this thing. And I can't even see. There it is. What we have to do is be strong, fight back, demand that our leaders fight back. Enough with this Schumer bullshit. This week, Chuck Schumer tweeted something like, remember, because CBS News ran that interview with Trump, and Trump, they edited it because Trump said things that they didn't want people to hear. That's what Trump sued because he claimed they did with Kamala Harris's interview, even though they didn't. So Chuck Schumer tweets something like, maybe I should file a complaint and I can use the same. And I retweeted it saying, maybe you should just do it and stop fucking tweeting about it. Just do something, man. And that went kind of around the thing enough that probably he knows. But I feel like this is a moment of change. This is a moment of transition. This is a moment when the Mamdanis and the AOCs and the Jasmine Crockett's are going to take over the party, which they should. They should. Because the conservative wing of the Democratic Party is going to turn into the opposition, what we used to think of as Republicans. And this MAGA Republican Party is going to fuck off and collapse because they're Nazis. And that's what happens when Nazis collapse. So that's enough of my ranting. Let's see. I just want to check the comments real quick. A strongly worded letter. Yes, exactly. Strongly worded letter. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you. We love all the support. We love the community. I know we don't say it as much during the show, but I think we're so focused on trying to make the show as tight as possible that we neglect that. But that doesn't mean that we don't really appreciate you guys and value you tremendously. So thank you. Weather's going to be nice. Have a great weekend. Enjoy. Take the victory. We won this week. Enjoy it. It's okay to enjoy it. This is the first week we've been able to have some real joy in a while. So I say, get out there and enjoy it. And it feels like, for the first time in a while, I feel like we're saying this and we actually mean it. We're going to get through it.